Let's go!
Hi everybody, I'm Paul, we're down at the Long Walk. Good morning everybody, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, welcome to day 3 of the Extinction Rebellion live stream. The march has just arrived at Windsor Castle and shortly there's going to be some speeches, but they obviously won't be able to happen until the summer dies down a bit. Let's just enjoy that, shall we? Shot where we are. Well, I thought that was quite impressive. Right, just to show you how close we are to the castle. And the other thing we've got to contend with today is we're right under the flight path of the planes coming into Heathrow. Right. Our main presenter's not arrived yet, so we're waiting for Mariah to turn up and just find out what time the speeches are going to start. I'm just going to go and speak to Etty. Morning! What time are we expecting the speeches to start?
Soon.
Soon? Okay.
Yeah, mine is on the case for work.
Okay, so we're on XR time today as usual.
can you make sure when you're live streaming speeches we get a banner behind them? So
Yes.
that banner there
is going to be behind, but we just need someone to do it.
I know, but I told Cass I would say it. So
Okay, fine. Exactly, what we're like then. Let's go and have a quick look at the crowds.
This pack of cards, which takes you through a process where you learn a little bit about some of the new ideas happening around the world in democracy. The question is, how might we take meaningful steps to upgrade democracy, on the understanding that current democracy approach is not really cutting the mustard in terms of some of the big poly-crises that we're facing as a planet. So people will learn about what's going on around the world in democracy, and they also get a chance to vote for their most popular ideas, their favourite ideas, by going to a platform called Polis, which is a way of integrating the ideas of a large number of people. So throughout this process they'll be getting onto their phones and voting on some of the ideas there. They'll be then coming back and having a discussion in their group, coming up with 3 new ideas and adding that into the mix. And once each group's done that, every other group is going to be able to go on and vote for those ideas and see what they think. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. I think that's right.
Oh, that's the first thing.
Yeah. First thing is appointments.
Yeah, flip, say.
Flippity flip.
So, let's have a simple
The next point is, I'm supposed to say, welcome everyone. The question today is, how might we take meaningful steps
Okay, I loved talking with different people, having a shared discussion on the common themes which were facilitated. That was great, really found it empowering and interesting. I felt the feedback was a little bit confusing and a little bit micromanaged, and I didn't feel it worked as well as the first part of the discussion. But I think if that was tweaked to
and talk things at this end, and at the bottom end of the road we're going to be doing some music in school. But just for now, you can just get comfortable. There's a drinking fountain at the bottom, slightly to the right as I'm looking at it from where the Queen Victoria statue is. Very tasty drinking water from there. And there's also some drinking water and toilets to the left as I'm looking at it down the hill here. So if you go to the left, that's where the Guildhall.
I loved talking with different people, having a shared discussion on the common themes which were facilitated. That was great, really found it empowering and interesting. I felt the feedback was a little bit confusing and a little bit micromanaged, and I didn't feel it worked as well as the first part of the discussion. But I think if that was tweaked to make it a little bit more accessible and understandable, then I think overall it's been a very worthwhile experience.
Yeah, so this has been really interesting. It's good to talk more to a small group of people, learn a bit more about, a number of options that there might be politically, ways of changing our current democratic system, which I think there's kind of universal agreement that it's failing. So a lot of interesting ideas to reflect on, learn about, consider, go away and discover, research more, and make some changes that are so desperately needed.
By the judge, and they do love their work. They do love their work. So please give them a big cheer as they deliver justice to the protesters. And
it was absolutely brilliant. It's the best People's Assembly I've done. I thought the process of it was really good. It was really clear. It highlights so many things to think about with People's Assemblies, and it's really enthused me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I've been really inspired by the citizens' assemblies we've just been doing here. It's shown another system that we could use in our broken system, and I think we need that now. We need hope.
Hi, so I'm here at Windsor Castle, and myself and other people who care about life on Earth have just participated in a citizens' assembly. So we've come together and we've discussed a big issue. How do we upgrade democracy? And we've taken it in turns to hear everyone and listen and analyse, and everyone's got a chance to speak, everyone's got a chance to have their view. It was very calm, and everyone spoke, everyone's view was heard, and we came up with the 3 best ideas and we're all going to vote on them. Everyone was very engaged, we were all sat there very studious, and so it was a great experience, and we need more of it, and this is our solution.
Okay, so I've been part of this mass assembly in a group of 7, and I was very impressed about how we all listened to each other really well, and I loved all the ideas people came up with, and when we had difficulty choosing 3 at the end, almost 5, we supported the facilitator, but we also threw in ideas as well about how to pull out those 3 things, and it wasn't super satisfactory for everybody, but it was enough for everybody. Yeah, so it was great.
I think it was a really useful process today where people discussed many different forms of upgrading our democracy. I think we need to keep this process going. During the Occupy movement, first day of Occupy, there were 900 cities having people's assemblies. I think we really need to dream big and upgrade. We should be having people's assemblies in every single public park and in every city over this next year, and we must link up internationally and have 3,000 cities having people's assemblies. We must keep this process going. We must take back the power and set up these parallel systems where we just get on with the people's assemblies and just do it. Don't wait for governments, don't wait for politicians. Do it in the park, do it in buildings, keep networking and create the future you want to see.
Okay, well, I just took part in XR's mass assembly, and I found the whole process really empowering and really enjoyable. It was tiring. I sat down for a long time, but I think it's a really important place to start shifting the culture in this country towards a more participatory democracy, because at the moment, I feel many people feel disenfranchised, disempowered, and hopeless. And mass participation in big decisions that, you know, affect, you know, the air we breathe and the food we eat, and the decisions we make about our everyday lives can really, can lead to big changes, can lead to a better future.
Today, even though the discussions were, you know, pretty much the same, everybody branched out, so there was more thought processes, and it was, you know, it was just a mass of empowerment.
No, you just go when you want.
Okay. Well, we've been surrounded by. So we look as though we're a load of naughty children surrounded by police, but as we've had a really constructive time, very intelligent arguments in our group. We're very lucky to have two well-informed people in local democracy and local government. What more can I say? It's a wonderful feeling when you feel you are in agreement with other people, having put in your little bit and listen to others, and so I think it's wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed it and learned a lot too.
Yeah.
I love being part of this Citizens Assembly. I love meeting the group and learning a lot from what people had to discuss about the question. We came up with some really innovative, creative ideas through like a discussion that lasted about 2 hours, but it was, time flew because it was fun and nice to connect with people.
Yeah, so this afternoon we're holding a mass assembly, which is based on the principles of citizens' assemblies, where we're going to discuss together ways forward on the climate and ecological crisis. Citizens' assemblies have been used really successfully around the world to tackle big, challenging, controversial issues which governments seem incapable of dealing with. So in Ireland, a Citizens' Assembly was used to look at issues around abortion and gay rights, and managed to forge a way forward where politicians had failed to come up with any solutions or progress. And we really believe that citizens' assemblies could be a way forward for the UK and elsewhere around the world to look at taking really radical, rapid, transformative action on the climate and ecological crises.
Hello everybody. For those who've just joined us, we're outside Windsor Castle on day 3 of the Update Democracy event, and we're just about to stream the speeches, but we're still in the process of setting up. I'm just going to swing round to show you the view here. So we're right outside the castle. And then looking down the hill, we have, I reckon that came from the Restore Nature Now live event, and our rebels gathered on the slope. Let's have a quick look at some of the banners we've got here. Because of the bright sun, I can't see the screen too clearly, so this is the best I can do. Violent direct action, mining justice for the global south. Another world is possible. We're still setting up for the speeches. This is night today. I see our main presenter has arrived. Let's wander over and find out how she is.
Definitely needs to be in this, huh? So it will give full print, instead of signature, you will do full print.
Okay, We are live. Before the speeches, would you like to do an intro at all?
Yeah, I can do quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're being chased by that.
Oh, sorry.
It's just being
Whoops.
Actually, maybe I can, while we're doing that, I can interview Rebecca at the same time. I'm just going to quickly do an introduction on the live stream. Do you want to quickly say something about the People's Plan for Nature on the live stream as well?
Yeah, of course. Do you want it or no?
Yeah.
Looks good.
Can it go in there? No? Oh, there's two in there.
Very clever.
Clever.
We keep losing the orange thingy.
The muff. Our muffo. Should we go with the background?
Yeah. Okay, count down then, Peter.
Good morning and welcome to the Extinction Rebellion live stream. We are here right outside Windsor Castle for the third and final day of Upgrade Democracy. It's been a fantastic few days here in Windsor talking about the failing political system and how we might do better. We had a brilliant mass assembly yesterday and the results are slowly starting to trickle in from that. So it's all very exciting and we're going to be listening to a whole bunch of speeches later about the latest climate science, climate and ecological justice, as well as more stuff about citizens' assemblies, which is very exciting. And we're joined now by Rebecca Lester, who is actually was a participant in a real-life citizens' assembly, the citizens' assembly which they ran as part of the People's Plan for Nature. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here today. It's so brilliant to have you.
Thank you, thank you so much. Yeah, great to be here. Can't wait to talk about the plan. It was such an amazing experience and it's so important that we talk about how we can restore nature, and involving citizens in this process is the way to do it.
And I know you're going to be telling us all about your experience with the Citizens' Assembly and the invitation you received and everything, so we won't make you talk about that now. But what's it been like for you afterwards? Because you've been doing a lot of sort of promoting of the People's Plan. Are you finding people quite understanding about the Citizens' Assembly process and what it is?
I think for the plan itself, it's maybe not gone as far as I'd like. It's still very much a fantastic document that we have that you can get access to online. But for me personally, and I think for a lot of the other Assembly members, it's really opened our eyes to what can be possible. And that's the main reason I really am here today, because it changed my life. It really helped me with mental health issues, and I now feel part of something. I realise I do have a voice and it does matter.
And so people yesterday took part in a mass assembly. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like for you, being part of that deliberation? And people are often saying, oh, but surely in these group discussions there'll be one really loud person who talks all the time. And what was that like for you in the People's Plan for Nature Assembly?
So yeah, that's definitely how I felt like going into it. I was very, very sceptical at how this would work. I thought it'd either be dead silence and no one would talk, it'd be awkward, or that you say there'd be one really loud person. But it was facilitated by a group called Involve, and they were absolutely fantastic. We listened to the evidence, then we broke down into smaller groups, and everyone was encouraged to talk and did speak. And the thing was is that there was such a vast amount of different people from different backgrounds, education levels, age, ethnicity, everything. No one had the same two ideas, and everyone listened and respected each other so well. No one was there for their own games, and it was so people were just honest and open and didn't care about sounding stupid, because we were all there to learn.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of what we're trying to get through to the politicians when we talk to them about citizens' assemblies, because they're like, yeah, but the things that need to be done about the climate and about nature, you know, they're so radical. Like, people are not going to be on board. People are not going to want it. Is that what you found?
Not at all, not at all. I think everyone's sort of blissfully aware of we're in a climate crisis and oh yes, well I do this and I do that, but you don't realise until you hear all the evidence in such small little spaces that how bad it is. And when people do hear, they do care, and it's just such an amazing experience, and everyone there went in with their own thoughts on how nature is and what their relationship with nature was. So it wasn't that we were all there as a bunch of tree huggers, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was amazing. I've forgotten the question.
It was just I know that happens to me all the time.
I was saying
there is so much going on as well, so it's just a bit. No, it's just that politicians are like, oh, people won't want to make these radical changes.
Well, I think that's the thing, is that they're not radical, and everyone's understanding. And so when you feel like you've added a voice, or your peer has added a voice, it's like, oh, hang on, yeah, maybe I can do that. You're more likely to listen to a friend or a colleague than an authoritarian sort of figure.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's all about. And, we all understood and came from different backgrounds. So, for instance, processed foods, and the foods is such a massive polluter. It's like, well, hang on, not everyone can afford to make that right choice. So how can we tackle that? What works for what and for who? And so, because you have that array of voices, you can find those solutions.
Yeah.
Really, really get to the bottom of them and agree on them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's so amazing as well, isn't it? That you're tasked with finding solutions to a problem together. It's not about convincing someone else of. And the other thing that comes up again is that people, whether it's politicians or people who are not supporting assemblies or don't really understand what they are, is that they're like, yeah, but ordinary everyday clever enough to make decisions on these kinds of things. Did you feel that when you were there?
Oh, I mean, walking in, yes, I am definitely not qualified for this. I can barely get myself out of bed some mornings, but you are given the evidence by scientists, by people who've experienced things. We had such a vast group of people come and speak with us. People from Nature, England Nature,
Yeah.
Tony Juniper, him, and to people that were in small grassroots groups that had actually created positive change in their own local neighbourhoods. So we had such a vast amount of things, and we all heard the same thing, and we took on what we heard, not what we thought we knew.
Yeah. I mean, it just sounds, I'm so jealous. And I've been saying as well, like the weird thing about campaigning for a citizens' assembly is that it's very, very likely that I will never be part of a citizens' assembly, which is so bizarre. But maybe that's a good thing. But yeah.
Well, if you want to, you can watch all of the talks that we had on YouTube. They're all available. So
that's a really good point, actually. Yeah. So the People's Plan for Nature. If you look up the People's Plan for Nature, you can find it all online. Equally, Climate Assembly UK. You can also still find the presentations online as well. Yeah. Let's see your. So this is the actual plan.
This is the actual plan. It's a beautiful document, baby. I'm very, very happy with it. And it goes into everything. So from how they recruited us, the sort of different steps, how they went about it, to the actual calls for action and how they're broken down.
Yeah.
It's and then our thoughts and feelings throughout the time. Honestly, it's a truly
It's so exciting to see
document.
it. Yeah, because I mean, obviously you can look at, there's a PDF online as well, but it's so awesome to see it in real life.
They have more copies. You can get copies.
Ooh, okay, exciting.
We'll have to work out somehow.
How we get them. And let's have a look at your invitation, because this is the thing that we talk about in theory all the time about, you're going to get a letter through the post, you're going to open it, you're going to see this invitation. This is a real life, this is the one, this is what you received.
Yeah, almost 2 years ago to the date. Dear resident, could you be one of 100 people selected to take part in the People's Assembly for asking an important question? What should we do to protect and restore nature in the UK?
Oh, amazing! And the wonderful story is that you thought it was a scam, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. So it goes on about what will happen, and that there'll be a a thank you for my time in a monetary value. And so it was like, oh, well, this is too good to be true. This couldn't possibly be real. But I think I was quite bored that evening, so I thought, well, I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah, amazing. And I'm so glad you did, because what an amazing advocate we have now for citizens' assemblies and, of course, the actual People's Plan for Nature as well. Rebecca, we won't take up any of your time again now, because you've got to go up and speak in a moment. But yeah, I think we're going to go to some other things now. Oh, in fact, they're ready to start. So let's stop. I'll get out of the way and let's get started.
Hello again, beautiful rebels. Whew, it does always take a little bit of time, but we think we're about ready now. Thank you for waiting. You're all so beautiful. The sun is shining. We're here in Windsor. Lots of people walking past wondering what we're doing here. We're here to upgrade democracy. What are we doing? One time? Just to let you know, we're going to be having a few speeches at this end, some really interesting speakers, talking about all sorts of different things. And at the bottom end, we're going to have a stage with music and things going on like that. But so please just feel free to float around. Remember, we're here for a couple of hours. We're going to get lunch in a short while. But for now, I just want to do something very cool. Because, you know, Extinction Rebellion is all about pushing our comfort zones. This climate and nature emergency calls on us to search within ourselves, find our courage. Wherever your comfort zone is, wherever that place is, calls upon us just to stretch that little bit further, to do something that slightly scares us, that slightly stretches us, either our capabilities or confronts our fears. All those things we are having to put into service of protection of life on Earth. And this job that I'm doing here today sometimes seems like quite a chaotic job. Sometimes it seems quite simple, but it is quite tricky. And we've got someone else who's going to join us today for their first time helping as an MC. And that person is called Ads. I don't know if you'll get to see her. Give a cheer out for Ads.
Hello, Windsor. You're looking very, very fine. Isn't it a beautiful day to save the world?
So we're going to get started straight away. We're going to invite to the stage two people from XR, scientists and engineers. I'm going to call on Cara to come to the stage if they're still around. Oh no, Tristram first, excuse me. Tristram, please come along and let's give a cheer for Tristram, XR, scientists and engineers.
Well, what a fantastic hot day, and I hope that's not a sign of the future. So I'm Dr. Tristram Wyatt, Senior Research Fellow in Biology at the University of Oxford. I'm a member of Scientists for Extinction Rebellion. And first, why am I here? Well, I work on animal behaviour and the smells that animals use to communicate. You could call it armpits across the animal kingdom. It's badgers' bottoms to bees to butterflies. So it's all about animal behaviour. And what I ought to be doing at the minute is editing the next edition of an award-winning book, a textbook for students. But what I realised is that in the lifetime of the students that will be reading the book, a lot of the animals are going to be going extinct. Chapter 4 is all about coral reefs. They're going to be gone within the decade. And what I realised is that it'd be better, rather than writing the obituaries for all the animals that are disappearing, if I actually joined Scientists for Extinction Rebellion and all of you and try to do something about it. So I have to say that scientists are strongly in favour of upgrading democracy. And we want to make 2 points. We would love it if politicians would only listen to us and act on the science. And second, we'd also love it if the general public were allowed to hear the scientists. So what are we talking about? Well, basically the problem is that the politicians really don't listen to scientists. There are too many dark lobbying money that's working behind. And what happens is the scientists write the reports, the messages are very clear, but the scientists instead listen to the dark money that's going through those think tanks in Tufton Street and more directly from Shell, BP and all the other Equinor, all the other oil companies. And when it comes down to those decisions, the scientists are not heard. The politicians listen instead to the lobbyists and the companies and all the bad actors. And there are some good examples of those bad situations. You remember back in the Johnson days, the decision was, were they going to give approval to new North Sea licenses? In 2019, the United Nations International Energy Agency had said already in 2019, 5 years ago, we cannot afford to dig any more coal, extract any more oil. So the government had in its own legislation a clear mandate to not give those licenses. And what did they do? Rosebank, coal mines, didn't listen to the science, and in fact the scientists went out and protested and glued ourselves to the ministry. So the problem is that the scientists don't get heard. And it would be great if politicians would come to only science here for is simply don't get heard by the general. If the general public did science, they would be as scared as the scientists. Basically, we are terrified. I had this kind of naive idea that all the changes will be gradual, that it'd just be a little bit warmer, a little bit wetter. But as you last 2 years, as you've been following the news, is that things are changing unpredictably and rapidly. It's wildfires, it's droughts, it's torrential rain and floods, and it's starting to home. So basically, they would be as scared to hear the stories. And the problem is that the public don't get a connected narrative. You have the reports about the Greek island burning from one end to the other, but at the same time in the next item on the news, you'll hear that airports are allowed to expand and the number of flights is going up. The UK potato crop failed in large part last year because of the excessive rain. We've had the wettest year on record. It's climate change, but that just appears in the food segment. It's not linked. The public don't hear, the public don't get the information that will cause them to put the pressure on politicians. Powerful. Very few scientists. And it basically means that they're not getting out. So that leads to Extinction Rebellion's demand to tell the truth. It's crucial for upgrading democracy. We need an informed public. An informed public would be going bonkers and getting the politicians to actually change what they're doing. It would actually give another voice. So too often in a film, Don't Look Up, the scientists trying to tell the public, wake up. And the show host is basically trying to keep it light and joking about will the meteorite hit his mother-in-law. So it's an absurd situation. What we have to do is get politicians to listen to the story. We have to get the public to be able to hear the scientists. Scientists are ready to do our bit. We're looking forward to those citizens' assemblies. We're looking forward to briefing the media and briefing politicians. The show host is basically trying to keep it light and joking about will the meteorite it's an absurd situation that we have to do the public to be able, looking forward to those citizens' actions. We're ready. Let's upgrade democracy. Thank you.
Next up, we've got Cara from Extinction Rebellion Scientists and Engineers. Welcome, Cara.
Hello. Hi. We hear about scientists using models to predict what will happen with our climate. A lot of people are asking whether the models are right. I think it's more helpful to ask whether the models are right. For example, if I dropped it, I could use a model to find out how it is. I could look at it very hard. I'd never be able to model what was going to with complete certainty. What I could model is, what I could decide is the going to frankly, that's what we actually need to know. The models aren't perfect, but they are based really, really well understood science. Use what we know about how much to interpret. They mean that we can easily see what's going to happen if we change, for example, the thickness of the chocolate. So this one, there's no point in doing the experiment because I can't know exactly what's going to happen. Works. Interestingly soft and that kind of weird. Right. The exact same science applied. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for what we need to know. And what let us do is they let us. Interestingly, researchers recently gained access to models that Shell had put together and up in their own internal documents in the 1970s that showed that we were going to have between 1 and 2 degrees warming by about now. Old data in, see if we get where we are today. The models are enough. Interestingly, researchers recently gained access to models that Shell had put together and written internal documents in the 1970s that showed that with between degrees warming by now. Strangely, Exxon kept it. So nowadays, with journals and live on the internet, so much work is published. The best scientific work, a lot of it. So, if you want to find out more, that's one way you can. The IPCC, the International Panel on Climate Change, and IPBES, which I can't, both summary every few years of all the work that's relevant to the climate and to biodiversity, and they publish it. Because they want policymakers to read it, they put together a really helpful summary for policymakers. It's about 20 odd pages long, but it's written in plain English, and even I can understand it, even though I'm a mathematician. One thing to note with that, and we'll see that at the moment, is it's a little bit out of date because 2024 has been such a hot year that it's already broken all the records and is off all the charts. Right, there are also more and more people working in science communication who are trying actively to make all this easier for experts in science like you and in fact like me. Groups such as Climate Fresk or Climate Collage and the Climate Literacy Project work to bring science literacy and climate literacy to everyone through companies, through community groups and so on. Our Scientists for XR webpage has got links to some resources, including a book written by the group, including Dr. Emily Grossman. And we also link news articles that we think are interesting and news about what we're doing, like gluing ourselves to government departments. Why do we do this? Well, it's because we really, really believe the XR demand to tell the truth. I also want to talk a bit about citizen science. While teachers have the magical, if tough, job of doing science with kids. Most grown-ups don't get to just play with science more. So, but there are organisations easy to participate. For example, the RSPB's Big Bird Watch. Has anybody here done that? I did that with my local scout group, which was good fun. Which is the benefits of that are that it contributes data to, so you get a massive view of what's going on in the country, but also it means that people get to notice what's going on in their own backyard or pod. I wonder if the Royal Household joined in that one this year too. There's also the Big Plastic Count that looks at how much plastic we throw away each year and informs the Greenpeace in how much recycling is actually happening, knowledge between what's produced and what's recycled. There are several projects. I went to look it up and found so many, I can't remember which one I was originally talking to. It was Working London. That was really exciting. It was putting together scientific experts in schools. And there are also a lot of individual scientists and engineers who do STEM projects with schools and with local community groups, some of which do things like that. The science is about what's learning gone, but some of the best opportunities we have to adapt and mitigate. It's really important to remember that because we've got these models, business as you mitigate now, or let's just do it all. This is another way science and new engineering can be opened up. There are great examples, such as the Centre for Alternative Technology, who've been looking at ways we can live without leaving deep footprints on our biosphere for half a century now. Project pulls down loads of resources, and there are lots of other groups who are doing similar things to try to make sure that we can make changes by ourselves within it, and we can ask our governments in a more informed way. What we're going to do is we're going to put a few of these links on the Scientists for XR webpage over the next week. But also, we need to remember our own XR groups. We have a lot to learn from each other. This is an amazing collection of people, and together, another world is possible.
Great, give it up for Cara from XR Scientists again, please. So that's why we're all here, because we believe the science, and we know that we have to act, don't we? But to tell that king, who also believes in the science, he speaks about these things, but not enough, and we know that he doesn't hold the power, so we must keep speaking to government. So for our next speaker, we have got Geraldine from the All African Women's Group. So give it a big up for Geraldine.
With Extinction Rebellion for inviting us to this action for climate and migrant justice. My name is Geraldine. I am from the All African Women's Group based at Crossroads Women's Centre in Kentish Town, London. We are a self-help group of asylum seekers from many continents. We are mothers, some of us here with our children, and some others sadly have their children behind when we escaped. Many women in our group have fled endless war, poverty, and the climate crisis, and most are survivors of domestic abuse, rape, and other forms of torture. Some are lesbian and bi, and had to run for our lives to escape homophobic violence. As mothers and mothers, we feel as our precious children and our loved ones globally are being slaughtered as they fight to resist genocides from Palestine to Sudan, Congo to Haiti. Communities have resisted Western governments and settler colonialist invasions. They came All our continue to our lands and wealth, promoting wars to feed and protect greedy multinational companies embedded in every continent. They loot precious minerals, corrupt our governments, and enable the military to rape and kill with impunity those of us who resist. Plus, the climate breakdown is causing mass famines and starvation, forcing us to flee in our millions. I am from Zimbabwe, where there's a horrific crisis caused by climate change, which is getting worse and worse. In Southern Africa, Angola, Zambia, and Malawi are facing droughts, and millions are at risk of severe malnutrition. Women and children are the most vulnerable and most affected, especially pregnant and breastfeeding mothers. In Zimbabwe, drinking water has been scarce for over a decade. Most of our population drinks unsafe water because corrupt governments allowed the infrastructure to be destroyed. We know what Palestinians suffer when their wells are poisoned and destroyed by Zionists. Women are even more vulnerable to violence, poverty, and exploitation, especially when we travel across land and sea for our survival. Over 70% of women asylum seekers have fled rape. We suffer brutal treatment wherever we arrive, sometimes at the hands of the police, in detention centers, by Home Office and other officials, and increasingly racist, encouraged by far-right politicians. That hatred is directed first of all at refugees and asylum seekers. Women in my group were terrified as the violence escalated, and we exchanged information about which areas were most dangerous. Even now, we are nervous of going out on our own. But the massive anti-racist response was fantastic and encouraging and reassuring. It proves what we have always known, that there are millions of people who want a compassionate and caring society, and millions who are ready to defend asylum seekers' rights to find safer and better life. Communities of people of color who have been here for generations are also being targeted. Just look at the Windrush scandal, and unjust as the post office scandal, but with less publicity. Blaming people of color, refugees, and just aims to divide us and hide the crimes of governments, which are making us poorer, dismantling our social security, and destroying the climate, all while their billionaire friends get rich off our low and unwaged work. Seeking safety and protection is ours and everybody's right. Here are some facts. It is not true that thousands of asylum seekers are bogus. The truth is that we can't get a fair hearing. Home Office officials are trained to disbelieve us, and they get rewarded for refusing claims. Are common. Can't get lawyers to help do a deliberately complicated process. Legal aid fees for immigration have been cut by 48% since 1996. So many good lawyers have left. Immigrant people are not a drain on the UK. We contribute more in taxes than we receive in benefits. Woo! One in 5 NHS staff are non-UK nationals, showing how important immigrant people are to keeping the health service afloat. Many of my friends work in the NHS. Remember, we kept the NHS and other vital services going through COVID. Woo! Our fight against poverty injustice, criminalization brings us together. Whether we are Extinction Rebellion or Just Stop Oil, fighting for climate justice, or Palestine Action protesting albeit the Israeli weapons manufacturers, or those of us campaigning against detention and deportation. We have a common cause. We are horrified and send our support to climate campaigners like Indigo Rambillo, who have been imprisoned, both on remand and those given long sentences. We remember the Bristol Kill the Bill protesters who are still in prison. We were part of those campaigns against the anti-protest laws, which gave the police massive powers that they are now using against all of us. Every week we join protests organized by the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network. It is pressing for the Israeli ambassador to be expelled for inciting genocide. Woo! This picket has been banned by police and forced to move. It is now being attacked by Zionists while the police frequently stand by. The picket needs more people and would welcome your support. We have to stick together. The government treats asylum seekers and refugees' lives as disposable in order to lower the standards for everyone, to try and get people used to some lives not counting. This goes hand in hand with and cuts that are killing people with disabilities in particular. It goes hand in hand with the police killings of people of color for which there has been no justice. The decriminalization of rape and sexual assault, the criminalization of homelessness and begging, forced adoptions of working class children. Many children of color from their mothers, mostly single mothers. But we all have the right to be here and the right to be safe. Yes! People of color build this country. We have contributed greatly to the wealth here, and we bring our skills and experiences to the campaign we are involved in for justice for all without papers. Stay together. All our lives depend. The Global Women Against Inclusion for Women, Women Against Rape, and Women of Color Global Women's Strike. We have some key demands on our hand, but I want to read three. Restore full rights by repealing the Nationality and Borders Act and illegal migration. End detention. Close down all detention centers. Restore legal aid for all immigrant claims. Finally, the center welcomes volunteers. There are many groups based there. We have information with us, and especially on our demand for a care income for every race, gender, and generation, caring for people and the planet. We have an event on the 24th of October, which you are all invited to. Please sign our mailing list if you would like to stay in touch. I'm going to be going around and handing out this, and also those who wish to be on our mailing list, you can also sign up. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Geraldine. She's going to be going around. You can sign up to her newsletter. Make sure you keep up to date with that important campaign. Thank you ever so much. That was really lovely to hear. And I want the next person onto the stage now. Indigo from the Indio. Excuse me, that was bad pronunciation. Indio from the Colombia COP16. Come on, Indio, on you go. Extinction!
Extinction! Extinction! Come on, they say noise so they can hear us. Extinction! 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 I say another wall, and you say it's possible. Another wall! Another wall! Another wall! Well, I come here to talk to you about, there's mining justice for the global south and democracy. I know you may think it's no relation between those two, but that's my job. Talk to you about the relation between justice and democracy. As it happens, there is two standards in the mining world. The standards in which the mining companies operate in the global north, and the standards which they operate in the global south. On top of that, they do their own regulation, they do their own inspections. They just go and produce a report, and they say we could look it after the environment, we look it after the population. They do that and they produce it because of correction. On top of that, they use the bilateral agreement treaties. The bilateral agreements treaties are the treaties that are signed between nations when they're going to make business. And they're using those treaties to protect the companies. Basically what is happening, they do anything they want, and they use this treaty to cover. So this company, I'm going to use the example of Colombia. I'm from Colombia, and it's the example I know, but this is happening all over the world. The bilateral agreement treaty that the UK have with Colombia allowed the companies 20 years ago to 35 years ago, when it was a right-wing government and neoliberal, they sold all the mining rights. All the countries being sold the mining rights. Now we have left-wing government directed by Gustavo Petro, and it's a left-wing and he was, and so he's listening to the indigenous communities that don't want gold exploitation, they don't want Glencore to be taking more coal. I have a stop. They haven't renewed those licenses that allow them to. So they are allowed to sue Colombia for millions of dollars for the money they didn't own. No, it's for the money they invest. No, it's for the work they have done. It's for the money they potentially have owned. Because the law in this country is one of the laws, is a neo-colonial law, and it's protecting that, and they're using that all over the world. So we have right in the mining justice for the global south. We have right a letter. So, Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, rebels, we're asking you to protect the global south, to create institutions that control the way they work. So here's a petition. I will have it here for you to sign it. And I'm also asking you to maybe do the same things that we have in the Ministry of Environment. Because what happened is in October, it will be COP16 in biodiversity. There's different types of COPs. And in October will be the COP16 in biodiversity. Will be in Cali, Colombia. So you get your boat now, you get there on time. And we want, with requesting the British government to tie the mining justice for the global south in this COP. They had to be, and we want the British government to bring that to the negotiation table. Here's where the democracy comes to work. I know you and we don't like COPs because we know it's just to make business. But we need to change that. We need to change that. In Colombia, the way they're doing it, they're doing local consultation. They go into the communities, and the communities are discussing the points that they want to be tied at the COP. That's what we need to do. We cannot allow them to go to the COP to make businesses. They have to go and talk about what are we going to do. So this is.
And look at this beautiful scene we've got behind us.
So this is the COP. It's here. We're working in that. We want to change that image. We really want the COPs to become people's world, democracy, participate democracy. We really have to start somewhere, and that could be a place to start. Thank you so much.
Thank you, India. Yeah, it's going to be interesting Colombia is actually one of the countries that has signed the International Non-Proliferation Fossil Fuel Treaty, which a lot of campaigns are working on. It's spearheaded by low-lying island states that are going to become underwater. And Colombia is one of the low-lying island state that's actually signed this treaty. So come on, Colombia, help us sort us out. Let's follow their example. Cool. So our next speaker, Lazarus Tamana, and he is from the Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni people. So give it up for Lazarus.
Sure. Extinction! 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 I thank all of you to have been here for 3 days now, campaigning to save the planet, because all what we are doing is saving the planet. I have very limited time, but I will try as much as I can to deliver what I want to deliver in the short time that I've been given. Extinction Rebellion came to inject new blood into our campaigns. And this has actually taken us to so many places. Many governments all over the world are afraid about Extinction Rebellion because they go straight to the point, mess around. That is what we want to see. That's what the government in Westminster need to see for them, because the government, they are not decisive. There are issues bordering on climate that they need to be decisive about it. They have been dragging their feet without taking these decisions. All fossil fuel extractions, new extraction should stop. Rosebank should be cancelled. Jack Claus be cancelled. Humboldt should also be cancelled so that we can meet our 1.5 degrees that we are targeting. Fossil fuel companies like Shell and BP and the rest should not be given new funding to commit crimes that they have been committing in indigenous and companies all over the world. They have been devastating so many communities, particularly in the Southern Hemisphere. The Ogoni people, the people of the Niger Delta, have been suffering in the hands of Shell for a very, very long time. It rests you to know Britain colonized Nigeria, and before independence in 1960, Parliament gave mining lease to Shell in 1939 to mine oil in the Niger Delta. That was before independence. So Shell has been in the Niger Delta now for over against our environment. We, as subsistence farmers and fishermen, are struggling to do our fishing or to do our farming. The extinction has created what we call today climate change. As people are all aware, the excess gases in the air, the 24 hours gas flaring, the pollution, on our land, in our rivers, has accumulated over the years to create what we are calling climate change of today. The only way for us to go is for people in the north and the south to come together to hold all these fossil fuel companies and governments to account. The so-called United Nations and their policies have to be very strong and towards what we need to sustain ourselves on the planet. We don't have any other planet to go. Scientists have been exploring, but there is no life in any of the planets. So there is nowhere for us to go. We have to hold our government to account for them to change what is disturbing all of us, which is the excessive climate that is destroying our farmlands, the bushfires, the heavy storms that is going on everywhere, the flooding in countries that you were not expecting. So these are the major things that we have to focus on. We need our government, particularly this new government, they are a sign of responding. We want them to show more sign. It's early days yet, but we need to see more from them taking action. Not only to say that Rosebank, they are not going to contest it. No, not. They should take decisive steps to make sure climate change that is real is tackled in the right way. If that is not done, we will all be wasting our time because we wake up one morning and the whole of London is flooded. Where are we going to run to if that happens? We cannot run to anywhere. So we need our government to be very, very decisive. We need them to take certain decisions that they have not been taken over the years against all these fossil fuel companies so that we don't continue to do what we have been doing in the past, which has no effect. So much.
Give it up for Lazarus again. Great. So our next speaker is from Assemble, and it's Lachlan. So give it up for Assemble, please.
Yeah. Hi everyone, it's lovely to be here. Can we give a round of applause for the organisers for pulling this together? Because, I mean, it's amazing. We're out here in front of the castle. There was an amazing assembly yesterday, which I took part in, so massive big ups to you guys. All right, so I'm from an organisation called Assemble. And for me, it's quite special to be talking here today because I was politicised through XR. Before that, I really just wanted to be on the front cover of NME. And this was kind of my awakening, if you like. So it's really special for me to be here. So since that time, when I was kind of awakened to the scale of the climate emergency, I kind of campaigned in years following that. And what I came to realise is that there's a fundamental problem with our democracy. And we're not going to achieve climate justice unless we fix democracy. So what is the problem with democracy? So for me, it's a question of how power is distributed. So every 4 years, we go to the ballot box and we hand away our power. And at the table where decisions are made, there are, you could say, the Prime Minister, you could say, has a seat, the Chief Whip, and the corporate lobbies, but nowhere to be seen are the people Nowhere to be seen are the future generations. Nowhere to be seen is nature. And there's a phrase that goes that if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. So we know this climate threat is an existential emergency that we need to address immediately. And if we need to fix democracy in order to solve the climate emergency, then fixing democracy is an existential issue. That should be the starting point where we're campaigning from. Okay, so the antidote is something that Extinction Rebellion's been talking about for a while, is to distribute that power. And one of the ways we can do that is distributing it through assemblies, okay? So acknowledging that this assemblies movement come from a long way. It's, you know, it's a very old thing, people coming together to talk about what they want to do in their communities. Extinction Rebellion, though, we have to recognize, has done amazing things to popularize citizens' assemblies, basically. So I think that's something that we can all really acknowledge and be proud of, but we're not there yet. And XR has also supported a load of organizations that are also working to address and upgrade democracy. And one of the organizations is the organization that I work for, called Assemble. So Assemble, how many people have heard of a show of hands? Okay, yeah, a few hands there, that's nice. So who are we? We came out of the kind of the, if you like, radical arm of the climate movement, and we've been around since about February. And fundamentally, we recognize that if you want a new system, if you want a new democracy, you can't go and ask for it. Because turkeys don't vote for Christmas. We have to go and build it. And that's exactly what Assemble's doing. So what we're doing is building alternative spaces, people's councils that go alongside your local council. To rival the hoods and eventually replace it, we've got the House of the People, which is something that we're campaigning for, along with lots of other organisations, which hopefully you've heard of. It's to replace the House of Lords with a permanent citizens' assembly. So we also recognise, along with that, that assemblies need to build power. It's not enough just to have an assembly and for it not to go anywhere. We need to be realistic about this. So one of the things that we're doing is working with politicians who already recognise that our democracy is fundamentally broken and needs an upgrade. So during the general elections, we supported 28 candidates who fundamentally believed we need to fix, and as part of their manifestos, they ran assemblies in their community which co-created their manifestos for them, okay? And those candidates collectively won 60,000 votes, and one of them even got into Parliament, MP Shocker Adams in Leicester South. So to finish up, I'm convinced because we recognise that to get the new system that we want, we need to build it, right? It's not going to be handed to us on a plate. And we also recognise that we need to build power in these alternative spaces that we're building. And we're doing that through engaging with these politicians who also believe in this vision. So that is it. So, and talk about how we can get involved with a couple of pathways to action.
Hello. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Swan. And thank you so much, everyone, for inviting us to come and being part of the ecology of social movements, of the climate movement and so on. And it's really good to be here. So yeah, in terms of pathways, we have a welcome call on Zoom that anyone can join on Thursday nights at 7, and you can find out on the website, which is timetoassemble.org, or you can come and talk to one of us. We've got a little table down in the fun area at the bottom, and got some leaflets. You can help yourself. And the other thing to say is, as part of this outreach we're doing, we've got parties, house parties, happening across the country. And our first one will be happening in Birmingham on the 5th of September, and you're all invited. So fun, musicians, DJs, spoken word. So if you're a performer or a creative, then you're very welcome to come and get involved at one of these house parties. During house parties, about hearing from testimonies from people around the country that have been doing these people's assemblies and standing in the general election and so on and so forth. So it's really exciting, and yeah, you can find us over there. So that's it. Thanks.
Give it up for Lachlan and Swan. Assemble's a fantastic project. Get involved, follow their advice, be the change that you want to see. No one's going to do it for us. We have to build this democracy that we want to see from the bottom to the top. Be part of it. So our next speaker is Rebecca from the People's Plan for Nature. So give it up for Rebecca.
Okay. Hi, as she said, I'm Rebecca, and I am one very lucky individual. I was randomly selected to be part of a Citizens' Assembly. I'm completely average. There's nothing special about me apart from that. So yeah, woo, average people. Sorry. Growing up, I didn't really think I had a voice that mattered, and there was no point trying to make it heard because it wouldn't change anyway. But then 2 years ago, I received this letter, one of 33,000 that was sent across to different addresses in the UK. The letter was an invitation to be part of a citizens' assembly on how to discuss how we should protect and restore our nature. I applied and thought nothing more of it, apart from it being potentially a scam. Having now been through the process, it has opened my eyes and shown me that I have got a voice to be heard, and that ordinary citizens can have a positive impact on our democracy and our environment. I'm here to share with you why I believe in citizens' assemblies hold a to restoring and trust in politics and our nature crisis. Woo. You can't see, but my legs are trembling. Having now been through the journey, it's completely opened my eyes. Have I done this bit? Yeah, no. Sorry. When I was selected to be a participant of the Citizens' Assembly, like many others, the idea of being in a group of random selected citizens coming together, actually complex ideas and agree on them seemed likely. I thought this is going to end in arguments or silence. It wasn't. It was completely different. We heard from such an amazing of experts, from like CEOs, scientists, people from supermarkets to grassroots groups that had actually experienced positive impact and change. And then we'd break down into smaller groups, and we listened to each other and we respected each other. It was truly amazing. I was in a room with 103 people that were completely different from me. They had different upbringings from me. They had different education levels from me. But we all listened to each other and we respected each other, and we came to choices and decisions that would be accessible to everyone, not just what we think could or would work. We could use our own personal experiences. Gone off script, sorry guys. The assembly ran across 4 weekends, 2 in person and 2 online. 2 online, sorry. We broke down, we had the
Yeah.
I think that's way. The conversation we're about to have is a unique opportunity. So.
Oh, that's the first thing.
Yeah. First thing is appointments.
Yeah, flip, yeah, stay.
Flippity flip, flip.
So, let's have a 6-month
The next point is, I'm supposed to say, welcome everyone. The question today is, how might we take meaningful steps
Okay, I loved talking with different people, having a shared discussion on the common themes which were facilitated. That was great, really found it empowering and interesting. I felt the feedback was a little bit confusing and a little bit micromanaged, and I didn't feel it worked as well as the first part of the discussion. But I think if that was tweaked to make it a little bit more accessible and understandable, then I think overall it's been a very worthwhile experience.
Yeah, so this has been really interesting. It's good to talk more to a small group of people, learn a bit more about, a number of options that there might be politically, ways of changing our current democratic system, which I think there's kind of universal agreement that it's failing. So a lot of interesting ideas to reflect on, learn about, consider, go away and discover, research more, and make some changes that are so desperately needed.
By the judge, and they do love their work. They do love their work. So please give them a big cheer as they deliver justice to the protesters. And have I?
It was absolutely brilliant. It's the best People's Assembly I've done. I thought the process of it was really good. It was really clear. It highlights so many things to think about with People's Assemblies, and it's really enthused me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I've been really inspired by
of the Climate Party. We're here to talk about upgrading democracy,
and why we started the Climate Party years ago, and we launched on the distrust to office, was because we didn't see the right climate action coming through, and we didn't see the right focus happening at any level of our society taking action, particularly politically. Now, we'll talk a little bit about what can be done, and then a little bit about why we're here, and then what we should be doing and we can do immediately. If we wanted to change the system of government here, it would be great. It would be great to have PR. It would be great to have citizens' assemblies happening everywhere. It would be even better to have the preferential vote system that they have in Australia that returned 7 cousins of ours, the Teals, during their last election and put them into the parliament. But we aren't going to get it. Why are we here? It's because of the timing problem. We have a timing problem with climate change. We've already spent 13 months with risen temperatures, breaking records around the world. We're already over 1.5 degrees. Yes, it might dip back down again. And between 1.5 and 2 degrees, we will see the tipping points going. What is the danger of that? Well, the worst ones are the permafrost and the ice sheets. When they melt uncontrollably, we see a massive release of methane, 85 times more warming in the coming decade than CO2. We can see a massive warming of the planet when we pass those tipping points. So we can't wait for 2050, like the Labour Party and the Conservative Party want. We can't wait for net zero, and we can't wait to keep drilling into the 2050s, which both of the main parties have argued for. We can't wait for 2040. Wake up, Green Party. Where are you? You've rode back on your targets twice in the last 12 months. You're now at 2040. 2040 is not going to save us. Extinction Rebellion's been asking for 2025. The science suggests 2028, 2030 net zero might work. Those are the targets we need to be going for. Why are we all here? We're here because we see it's the right thing to do. We're here because of our kids and our grandchildren, and we're here because of the urgent need. Why am I here? I've got 2 kids, I'm a single father, I brought my 2 boys up completely on my own since they were 2 and 4, they're now teenagers. Well, 5 years ago, I had a dream about them. They were returning back to our home, and they came up to the door in their army uniforms. Combat trousers, berets, green sweaters. They came in, they put their army bags down. They came into the living room where I was sitting having a coffee, and they, Papa, we just come back from Europe where we're shooting people to stop them getting the drinking water. They then said we could be killed, but we've got good flak jackets from the British Army, and we've got big guns. We're shooting the poorer people who have smaller guns to stop them getting the drinking water. And then they looked at me and they pointed and they said, you knew about this, didn't you, 20 years ago? And what did you do? And at that moment, I woke up and I was crying. And I was mouthing words, but no words were coming out. And I was mouthing, but I've got a job. But I've got a mortgage. But I've got to look after you. And I just went, fuck that, that doesn't wash. I put my feet on the ground and I got up and said, I'm only working on climate from then on. And that's what I've been doing. And I've been working in the system because I can't see that we can change it in 5 years' time and get the action we need on climate. We need people in the system. I joined my parish council. We declared a 2030 net zero target for the whole community, and we're working on it. I fought to get into the unitary council in Buckinghamshire, and I made it. And when I went door to door, what did people say to me? Okay. What did people say to me? They said, you're working on climate. I hate Extinction Rebellion. Then they talked to me for 20 minutes about climate change, and then they elected me in a deeply right-wing Tory area. Extinction Rebellion didn't go out to make friends, it went out to make changes. Now, just before we go, I just want to say you involved in the system now. We need climate activists with their feet under the table now, not in 10 years' time. There are 3,000 parish councils in this country that don't have enough councillors. Get on them. You can get on them tomorrow and be co-opted. There are council elections in May next year. Be in the elections. Put your hat in the ring. And we as a climate party are going to be running Be a Councillor events on and offline, telling you how to do it. Get involved. Let's get climate activists in the room so that when we're marching on the street, there's people in there ready to vote for us and hold forth on our behalf. Let's get involved.
Thank you very much, Ed. Thank you so much. That's super interesting. Yes, I like to think about all these things. It's so thought-provoking, and I hope you're finding this interesting. Next up, we're going to have on the stage Kirsten Downer from the Sortition Foundation. Who here knows what sortition is? Oh, yeah, so that's quite cool. And we've got Marine from the Citizens Assembly Working Group in Extinction Rebellion. They're going to have a bit of a chat. So welcome Marine and Kirsten to the stage. Woo!
Yeah. Hello everybody, thank you so much for being here. I know it's really, really hot. There's lots of spots in the shade over here if you want to just get into the shade and not fry. Kirsten, thank you so much for being here today. It's such a pleasure. We're obviously a huge fan of the Sortition Foundation. Shall we first talk a little bit about what is sortition? I always tend to explain it like, think of the Harry Potter sorting hat type thing. It's actually not quite like that, so you'll do a much better job. What is sortition?
So that's actually a really good analogy that I hadn't come up with, so thanks, Marty. And yeah, it's great to be here. I work for an organisation called the SOR Foundation, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But sortition is basically the process of sourcing, of selection by democratic lottery, by lot. And it's been used for, you know, a long time to select participants for juries. So it's not a new concept at all. And it's being increasingly used for citizen assemblies that are being used more and more around the world, as we've seen over the last 10 years. And it's really about what you touched on there, about using the laws of chance to mitigate against power, wealth and privilege. Because other systems, as we've seen, can be gamed, unfortunately. And so it's not surprising that there's a renewed interest in it. And it was first invented, as far as I'm aware, in the Western world, in ancient Athens, where they actually devised a system, a kind of allotment device, purpose-built, to ensure that councillors, you know, were chosen in this kind of democratic lottery method. And they saw that as integral to their democracy, much more than elections, which could be gained by oligarchs. Sound familiar? So yeah, I think that's kind of, obviously now we don't use a stone tablet, we can use computer programs to do it, and it's being used around the world as we speak.
Yeah, and it's an amazing thing to see as well. There's this proper techie algorithm that does it, and it's really an amazing thing, and there's proper clever people behind this. And they always tend to say to us, yeah, but you can just run it yourself. It is intimidating, but you can actually, it's open source, isn't it? Anyone can use it.
Yeah, it's open source, and the German Bundestag just recently, they were using, obviously, like the computer system, but they did the final draw of participants live, filmed, in the form of a physical form process, where there were containers and balls that were drawn out of container. And I suppose I just wanted to, for all of you who this might be a new concept, we've all kind of used these laws of chance already in very small ways when we've drawn straws and drawn names out of a hat. That's basically the same kind of concept that we're using. And yeah, I mean, Sortition Foundation, if I can talk a little bit more about who I work for. So we recruit using Sortition for citizens' assemblies around the world, Australia, Europe, and the UK. This is happening right now, and it's happening because they can research and experience shows that the sortition process, because it is effectively random. I don't like using that word because it can be misused, but it's basically democratic. That you bring people together from different walks of life. So when you bring people together from different walks of life, you get better outcomes, you get permanent, profound outcomes. And I wanted to relate this to what's happened here for the last few days. I wasn't here yesterday, but I heard that there was this mass assembly took place, and I'd love to hear more about that. And I think that it was only but it gave you a taste of what that can be like, to be given that level of space to deliberate on things. Now, that was a self-selected pool. We're a self-selected pool. We've all chosen to be here. What sortition does, it brings in the wider pool and works very hard to make sure that it's representative. And algorithms can help with that. And that means that you're going to have people who wouldn't normally be sitting down talking together at all, let alone deliberating on issues that matter to them. And that's, I think, what's so powerful about citizens' assemblies combined with sortition. That's where the magic happens. So yeah, Sortition Foundation, we've been involved in the recruitment process using sortition. We're all about raising the game and making it as fair and as representative and as transparent as possible, sharing best practice. And we've just recently launched a campaign, which I'm really excited to talk about, particularly here outside this building, the seat of the monarchy. It's called 858.org.uk. So if you've got, most of you will have phones, do go and have a look on your phone and check that out. I'll talk a little bit about it and how it relates to this in a minute. But yeah, we think the time is now to replace the House of Lords with a rolling, permanent House of Citizens, a Citizens' Assembly.
Yes, I think all agreed that sounds like an amazing idea, especially this concept of a rolling one. So you're not part of this house for the rest of your, and could possibly inherit it as well. But it's a rolling thing. So you're on it temporarily, maybe for a year or so, and then the next person gets to have a chance. I think just to clarify as well a little bit, I don't know if you can talk about it, but the random selection part, I think, is what everybody understands. So if you want a sample of about 100 people, you'll send out probably about 30,000 invitations, and then you get the responses. But then you have to create this sample, representative sample. How does that work?
So I'll do my best to explain this, but we probably need some of the geeks in Sortition Foundation to do this better than me. But you have to mitigate, you know, you might send out 30,000 invitations, but it will always be, there'll always be a certain group of people that will find it easier to respond for whatever reason. So some people might not be online, for example. You know, I think we were involved in a citizen assembly recently about digital information. So we had to go for the group of people who weren't online, as well as the people who were online. And what that means is using a plethora of mechanisms for that. And one is good old-fashioned door knocking, which I know citizens Extinction Rebellion people know about that, letters as well as digital outreach. So you basically can use to know what the makeup of an area in terms of class, gender, race, age. You know what the population consists of, and you make sure that the overwhelming, the final pool of people resembles that as closely as possible, because if it doesn't, it's not truly representative. So that's what sortition does.
And that's really exciting for us, because obviously when it comes to climate and ecological breakdown, we know that it is because the wealthy elite, the elite who are profiting from the fossil fuel industry, have a disproportionate amount of power on our politicians at the moment. But in a citizens' assembly, if they represent the 1% of the population, they would only represent the 1% of the citizens' assembly as well, which means that they do not
have the biggest say. They do not have the power, but the power is genuinely with everyday people, and it is fair and just. So that's what makes it so exciting for us. Do you want to add anything else about the your campaign?
Thanks. Yeah. So, you know, where I think it's a common consensus that the House of Lords is bloated, is packed full of cronies, is really unrepresentative, with a few exceptions, just not up to the job to, you know, present it to act as a check and balance on the government. So we're proposing that Citizens' Assembly, a House of Citizens, replaces that. And going back to what you just said, for politics to work for us, it has to include people like us. We all know that, wherever you are on the political spectrum. And it doesn't right now. And individuals, communities and nature are suffering as a result. And that has led to a massive breakdown of trust, which we've seen in the recent election this year. The lowest share went out to vote since adult suffrage. We've seen violence on the streets. There's a dangerous breakdown of trust at the moment in our democracy. But there's also an opportunity. So I just want to briefly talk about the opportunity that you have now. If I can just turn over my notes in case I forget something. Yeah, so basically this government is pledged reform. We've got a new government and they have promised to reform the House of Lords. They've called it indefensible. And across the political spectrum, wherever people sit on this political spectrum, there is a growing desire to see citizens' assemblies play more of a role in our democracy, seeing the potential of that, from left to right to people who don't vote at all. And so we launched our campaign, 858.org.uk, fairly recently. Hundreds of people have written to the Minister, who's written back, and they've promised a consultation on House of Lords reform. We think that consultation should take the form of a citizen assembly, see if that happens. But basically, there's an opportunity now that we haven't had. And these permanent rolling citizen assemblies are already happening. We have them in Paris, we have them in East Belgium, and we've also done polling amongst the public, and we know that there are various options for House of Lords reform, and the most popular option is the House of Citizens one. When the population is given that choice about what would you like to see replaced with the House of Lords, would you like to see it abolished, would you like to see it replaced with a citizen assembly or an elected second chamber? It's a House of Citizens, it's the Citizens Assembly. And we know that is because there's a lack of traditions, but people trust each other. They trust each other to take on difficult issues free of vested interest, free of party politics. So we actually think this is the most feasible option. It's the most popular option. It's the most feasible option. The other options, you know, we've been promised House of Lords reform at least 1911, and it keeps getting stalled. There are reasons for that. There are vested interests that don't want another chamber. We think the House of Citizens, which is a fairly new proposal, gets around all those problems. So it's actually a solution, and it will bring trust back. So just briefly, just talking a little bit about how it would work, rather than the totally unrepresentative House of Lords that we have now, is it would be drawn like a jury of people from across the spectrum of society. So you would have doctors, shopkeepers, carers, business people, all the roles that people take on in society represented. And they would be able to call on experts, just as juries do now, political, legal experts, but also people with lived experience of issues. And they would be able, we think, to hold politicians to account in a way that's not happening now, and make sure that our laws are sensible, fair, and that they have community support. And, you know, these issues that we're facing are huge, and that's why we think also the time is now. So I just want to recap really, really quickly. 858.org.uk. There are leaflets at the back there, and you can look it up on your phone as well. There's a petition on that page. If you could take 1 minute to just click and add your name, I think it would make a really crucial difference at this time now. And I just wanted to reference this castle. So just over 850 years ago, it was another king, Henry II, who codified the right of ordinary citizens like us here to play a deliberative role in our system, in our legal system, to be able to deliberate on those issues, ordinary citizens in the form of jurists, and that has worked well for centuries. So we see this as a continuation. This is time to finish the job. It's time to bring ordinary citizens to be able to deliberate on political issues too. So if you agree, if you're interested in any of this, upgrade democracy now, 858.org.uk.
Kirsten, thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming all this way. And thank you for explaining to us about this brilliant campaign. Everyone, Kirsten Downer from Saltition Foundation. So just to wrap up, what we've tried to do here today is, as you were yesterday as well, you were exposed to lots of different forms of democracy, different kinds of ways, different systems, different processes. What we really want you to take home is that the way that things are being run now are not the way that things need to be run forevermore. We can change it. It's already happening, part of the change. And that's just really what we wanted to show you, is that there's lots of groups, lots of people already working on this. And Extinction Rebellion is playing a huge part in this. Obviously, our priority as Extinction Rebellion is climate and ecological justice. And first and foremost, what we want is that third demand. We want that citizens' assembly on climate and ecological justice, because everything else will be for nothing if we're all up to our necks in water, if we're all dying from starvation because of famine caused by drought and other climate-related issues. So that is first and foremost what needs to be tackled straight away. And if the government would just commission that citizens' assembly tomorrow, we could have the results within the next 6 to 9 months. And we could start actually fixing this shit show. So what are we waiting for? It's so important that we're all here and that we're all pushing for that third demand. But as you can see, there is so much happening in the democracy space, and we're so grateful for everyone working for this, and we're so grateful for all of you amazing rebels being here with us for these 3 days, and just absolute so much love and rage to you all.
Show us what democracy looks like. Show us what democracy looks like. No more hypocrisy.
No more hypocrisy.
Time to upgrade democracy.
Time to upgrade democracy.
No more hypocrisy.
No more hypocrisy.
Time to upgrade democracy.
Time to upgrade democracy.
You know that it's got to be.
You know that it's got to be
A citizens' assembly. You know what it's got to be. A citizens' assembly. Show us what democracy looks like. Show us what democracy looks like. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you all for staying out this marvellous day in the baking sun. We're now going to hand over to Dolly, who's going to tell you what's going to happen next. I'm right here.
You're right here. Hello, everybody. Thank you. So next, we're going to kind of clear up the space and the fun fairs, and it's going to be time for us to have a bit of a symbolic die-in in this space. So what's going to happen as we're clearing up and kind of making some space here, moving our things to the sides, the samba band will play us some beautiful music. What we're listening out for is the sign, which will be the samba band coming down to a slow heartbeat. This is your signal to lie down on the ground if you are able and willing. There are also some chairs available if you wish to die in a chair. If you could if you've got sheets with you, that's wonderful. Die underneath your sheets. And if you can fill up the area, which is down by the, starting from the Queen Victoria statue and all the way up here, that will be absolutely magnificent. For those that weren't at the briefing this morning, your sign to rise again, like democracy rising, will be a beautiful tune of tubular bells. I can't say tubular. Tubular bells, as you hear the sounds pass by you through the crowd. This is your sign to rise up gently and slowly. There's no rush at all. As you rise, you will see a beautiful figure down by the Queen Victoria statue. So there's an invitation for you to gather around the beautiful puppet. And if young people would like to gather kind of at the front of the march, also looking for some people who are blowing some bubbles. We've got some beautiful bubble things. What else do we need to know?
Take a little break and get ready to die.
Yay!
Yes, but I'm not on that. Well, I'm not sure. It's dying.
The banner's up. Huh? The banner's up. Oh, nice. So just let you see everyone. Yeah, and I'll let the live streams know they're sort of not sure where to be. So. Sorry, say that again? Okay, cool. I'll tell them.
My name is Roman Krasnarek. I'm a social philosopher and author of a book called History for Tomorrow, Political System Today, which is failing to deliver on the climate emergency. CO2 emissions have more than doubled in the last 30 years, so where do we go? We can look through history, as I argue in my new book, for hugely important examples of direct democracy. We can find it in indigenous communities in India, in West Africa, in ancient Greece, in the Renaissance, where people participated directly. One of the main things they did was what's called sortition. And that is the random selection of citizens through a public lottery for participation in politics, just like we do for juries. And over the last 10 years, there's been an explosion of citizens' assemblies across Europe, more than 200 of them on issues from the climate crisis to abortion and aging populations. And they tend to have much more radical outcomes, more transformative outcomes. So today we need to have XR's demand put into practice of to have a citizens' assembly on the climate, which is binding on politicians. We also need to have a Future Generations Commissioner for the UK, just like we have in Wales, which is held to account by a Citizens' Assembly. And thirdly, what we need is a redesign of the House of Lords. Let's turn that into a House of Citizens, selected randomly from members of the public, just like they've had through history, direct democracy, and let us put power back in the hands of the people and let us be good ancestors. That's what future generations deserve.
Hi everybody, I'm Paul. We're down at the Long Walk. This is Upgrade Democracy, and this is what we're calling the mass assembly. So you can see everybody behind us here are going through this pack of cards, which takes you through a process where you learn a little bit about some of the new ideas happening around the world in democracy. The question is, how might we take meaningful steps to upgrade democracy, on the understanding that current democracy approach is not really cutting the mustard in terms of some of the big polycrises that we're facing as a planet. So people will learn about what's going on around the world in democracy, and they also get a chance to vote for their most popular ideas, their favourite ideas, by going to a platform called Polis, which is a way of integrating the ideas of a large number of people. So throughout this process they'll be getting onto their phones and voting on some of the ideas there. They'll be then coming back and having a discussion in their group, coming up with 3 new ideas and adding that into the mix. And once each group's done that, every other group is going to be able to go on and vote for those ideas and see what they think. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah. I think that's
Yeah, flip, yeah, flip, flippity flip, flip. So, let's have a
The next point is, I'm supposed to say, welcome everyone. The question today is, how might we take meaningful steps
So, hi everybody, my name is Ali Gordon-Creed. I'm a Green District Councillor for South Oxfordshire District. Why am I here? I'm here at Upgrade Democracy because our system is genuinely broken. And until the entire paradigm of how politics happens changes, then this is the kind of thing that I feel like we all need to participate in and we need to do, because decision making from the top down without joined up policies where you separate infrastructure and planning law and environment and economy is how we've arrived at the state we have. You cannot separate the people living in the place that they live with the economy of the area, with the climate, nature, with which we literally are wired in our evolutionary biology to thrive within. You cannot separate those. And so the way decision making happens needs to change. It needs to become a balance of conversation from the bottom up of the people who are living these decisions, living with the consequences of these decisions, with the children who won't have a future to live in unless we change now. And the story of media telling us that climate change is false is so palpably ridiculous as to be just, you can't even explain how stupid that is, given that the previous government has a book this thick telling them how to sort climate. This government is, and it seems to me, adopting the same economic linear paradigm that the last government took and got us into this poor state of global non-well-being. So, if you look around here, this is where we thrive. I mean, it's a little posh, but we have to change how we make decisions. So here I am. Thank you.
Okay, we're standing here outside of Windsor Castle, and this is a demonstration, really a public manifestation for Upgrade Democracy, which is it's a campaign to improve the democracy which we have in this country, because at the moment what we have is an exercise in putting a cross on a piece of paper every several years. And the moment you've done that, you more or less lose contact with democracy, democratic process. The democratic process is taken over by those our so-called representatives, who may very often enact legislation, for example, which is not what we would wish them to do. Repressive legislation, for example, which we're seeing more and more of now. And what we are doing here is trying to refresh democracy, to to bring democracy back to the people where it belongs. It comes from the word demos, which means the people, the rule of the people. That's what the original Greek means. And we don't mean mob rule, we mean something much more sophisticated than this. We mean that we have an informed democracy, that we the people, we speak together, all of us, we don't exclude people, we have everybody, and that so long as everybody is reasonable and wants to make progress and has goodwill, we can come to decisions on various issues, and then we can feed that back into the system. Which is not a dictatorship. It's a deliberative system. So we put a lot of thought into some matter. We, in our different groups, we come together and share our ideas. So there's a filtering process all the time that happens. So we eventually have what we, the people, consider to be the best ideas. So we're not really going to object to them because the ideas came from us ourselves, the mass of the people. And then those ideas will be fed to politicians, and there will be a system whereby politicians are required to respect the will of the people, and that they will look at this.
And you're back live in Windsor at Windsor Castle, where we've just listened to some amazing speeches about climate science, environmental science, what the emergency is looking like now. Also, climate justice. We've been hearing from people from Zimbabwe and from Nigeria about the state of climate and ecological breakdown in those countries and the impact that our political system has on those countries, because this is obviously a worldwide problem that we are in fact affecting. And now we are about to have a die-in. So we will go quiet now. Put this.
Yes, that needs to be a bit more visible.
Crap.
This is the BBC. Here's the news. Today, democracy in the United Kingdom has officially died. Corporate giants, especially those tied to fossil fuels, now control government decisions, sidelining the voices of ordinary citizens. Parliamentary oversight has been gutted, allowing the rich and powerful to dictate our nation's future. Climate defenders are now criminalised, facing severe prison sentences for daring to protest. Meanwhile, billionaire media owners drown out dissent, shaping public opinion to suit their interests. The pillars of our democracy, transparency, accountability and the rule of law, have collapsed. The UK is no longer a democracy. It is a nation ruled by the few, for the few. Democracy is dead.
Democracy in the UK faded away, overtaken by aristocrats and corporate interests. The unwritten constitution nation failed at every, from the head of state to local councils. People felt powerless, their voices drowned out by those with wealth and influence. A movement emerged. They saw the cracks in the system and refused to stay silent. They joined forces, uniting everyday people who fought for climate, global, social and nature justice. Together, they targeted the heart of the places in a powerful location where the powerful symbol where democratic they caused a system where everything was scattered. As if it's there must have been many people echoing across the country. It was a call to rebuild democracy and create a future where the people, not made the decision. However, in that moment, the message began to be labelled.
Everyone's up doing hand signals now. Everyone's up doing hand signals now.
Yeah, oh no, thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's been really... It's been an eye-opener.
You enjoyed it.
Loved being here. It's just so stunning here. And everyone's been so kind as well. We had some people from the rugby and cricket club coming to us, and they were really nice, and they were like really lovely to us. We had one of the councillors, Windsor councillors, came and saw us as well. Yeah, it's been so nice. So you're all over the place, aren't you? Yeah, we had people come from Glasgow, all the way to Norfolk and everything. Yeah, all over the country. So yeah, I know it's sad. Like when it's over, we all disperse again. Right, we're going to get out of your way. Okay, thank you very much. No, thank you for looking after us. Thank you. Yeah. No.
Yeah, you're on.
Yes. Hello. Yes. God, you're so good. Amazing. Hello, live? Sorry? Can't tell if he's talking to Peter.
No, we're live, yes.
We are? Oh, okay, great. Hello. Hello, welcome back to Windsor. You are live here with us on the Extinction Rebellion live stream. We've just had this amazing moment of doing die-in here, and democracy was broken, and life was run by the wealthy elite and the fossil fuel industries. And then, oh, there's some singing happening now. Who steals the common from the goose? Oh, it's Dolly singing. Oh. Take back the commons, snap the padlock, break the chains. Take back the commons, raise a glass to Thomas Paine. Take back the commons, noble diggers rise again. Take back the commons. Who is someone else live? Are you still live? Who steals the goose
loose from off the common.
I think so. Give me a minute.
The greater villain loose. You still take back the common, snap the padlock, break the chain. Let's rise again, take the commons. The law looks up the man or woman who steals the goose from off the common. But who's the greater villain loose? Who steals the common from the goose? Take back the commons, snap back the chains. Take back the commons, raise a glass to Thomas Paine. Take back the commons, no more diggers, rise again. The man or woman who steals the goose from off the common. But he's the greater villain loose, who steals the common from the goose. Take back the commons, snap the padlock, break the chain. Take back the commons, raise the glass to Thomas Paine. Take back the commons, no more diggers, rise again. Take back the commons. Accept the man or woman who steals the goose from off the common. What makes the greater villain loose? Who steals the common from the goose? Take back the common, snap the padlock, break the chain. Take back the common, raise a glass to Thomas Paine. Take back the commons, noble diggers, rise again. Take back the commons. One more time. The law looks up the man or woman who steals the goose from the common, but leaves the greater villain loose, who steals the common from the goose. Take back the commons, snap the padlock, break the chain. Take back the commons, raise the glass to Thomas Paine. Take back the commons, noble diggers, rise again. Take back the commons. Let's get out of the way there.
And thank you so much for being here with the Extinction live stream. We are at Windsor Castle, just behind us, just had the beautiful die-in where democracy died, but luckily a group of people refused to be defeated and revived democracy, and people power came back to this country, or maybe indeed for the first time, because I don't know if we've ever really had people power here, so there we are. And yeah, so they're just cheering at the banner that's been hung up over there that says another world is possible. And yeah, so you can see that that was this amazing banner that someone's managed to sneakily hang up there at the scaffolding. So we're done here now at the castle. We've listened to some fantastic speeches by scientists, by members of climate justice groups from Southern Africa, from Zimbabwe, from Nigeria, and also from some great speakers from various organizations working on improving our democracy and getting people's voices heard. So yeah, I think we're going to walk back now all together. We'll have a closing ceremony as well, and then we're going to pack up the camp. As everyone knows, when Extinction Rebellion has been somewhere, we tend to leave our sites behind better than how we found them, and that we ensure that we do that by all working together, because we have this saying in Extinction Rebellion that we are all crew, so everybody is part of packing up and tidying up after we leave a site. So that's what we'll be doing. I'm not sure what the plans are for the live stream, whether we're carrying on with the live stream or not. I'll ask Tim, or I don't know, are we going to pre-record or what are we doing? We don't know. Well, in that case, I shall let you enjoy, I'll let you enjoy this view of our amazing rebels making their way from Windsor Castle back to the camp.
Okay, I loved talking with different people, having a shared discussion on common themes which were facilitated. That was great, really found it empowering and interesting. I felt the feedback was a little bit confusing and a little bit micromanaged, and I didn't feel it worked as well as the first part of the discussion. But I think if that was tweaked to make it a little bit more accessible and understandable, then I think overall it's been a very worthwhile experience.
Yeah, so this has been really interesting. It's good to talk more to a small group of people, learn a bit more about, a number of options that there might be politically, ways of changing our current democratic system, which I think there's kind of universal agreement that it's failing. So a lot of interesting ideas to reflect on, learn about, consider, go away and discover, research more, and make some changes that are so desperately needed.
By the judge, and they do love their work. They do love their work. So please give them a big cheer as they deliver justice to the protesters. And have I?
It was absolutely brilliant. It's the best People's Assembly I've done. I thought the process of it was really good. It was really clear. It highlights so many things to think about with People's Assemblies, and it's really enthused me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I've been really inspired by the citizens' assemblies we've just been doing here. It's shown another system that we could use in our broken system, and I think we need that now. We need hope.
Hiya, so I'm here at Windsor Castle, and myself and other people who care about life on Earth have just participated in a citizens' assembly. So we've come together and we've discussed a big issue. How do we upgrade democracy? And we've taken it in turns to hear everyone and listen and analyse, and everyone's got a chance to speak, everyone's got a chance to have their view. It was very calm, and everyone spoke, everyone's view was heard, and we came up with the 3 best ideas and we're all going to vote on them. Everyone was very engaged, we were all sat there very studious, and so it was a great experience, and we need more of it, and this is our solution.
Okay, so I've been part of this mass assembly.
I think it was a really useful process today where people discussed many different forms of upgrading our democracy. I think we need to keep this process going. During the Occupy movement, first day of Occupy, there were 900 cities having people's assemblies. I think we really need to dream big and upgrade. We should be having people's assemblies in every single public park and in every city.
That's up there.
Slow, that's the shot. It's beautiful. Nice and slow. You can get this.
And we are just walking back from Windsor Castle now. We're going down the hill back to our camp after what's been an amazing 3 days here in Windsor for our Upgrade Democracy, democracy boot camp, really, where the topic of the day has been democracy can upgrade. Overwhelming thing out of the week is everyone agreed that the political system, as it stands, is fit for purpose. It is like running your computer on a operating system from the 80s. It just doesn't work. We can see it's just dysfunctional. It cannot cope with the needs of today's society in today's world. And we're not just talking about the climate and ecological emergency, but we know that there's so many other major crises happening that are all down to this failure of the political system. So it's been really amazing just to get that clarified once and for all, that we agree. Yes, we might all feel like we have a democracy, and lots of people feel like by going to the ballot box once every 4 or 5 years that is their part in the democratic process. But we know that that just isn't enough. Ordinary, everyday people need to be involved in decision making on a basis. And that's really what's come out of this weekend. And I think people here are ready to do that work. Democracy is hard work, and it needs constant tending to, and we all need to be engaged. But I think everybody here is agreed that they're willing to do that work. But other than that, it's just also just been such a pleasure to be in the beautiful town of Windsor. The people here have been so welcoming, so kind. We know that it's not been easy for the residents and for the local authorities, for the police, because we've had so much bad press, especially from the Daily Mail and the Telegraph and the Sun and probably, you know, all of those guys, saying that we were going to storm the castle, that we were going to cause all sorts of disruption. You know, people were told to stay away from the centre of Windsor. People were told to stay vigilant. I mean, which used to describe what we were going to do was really outrageous, as if we were, you know, thugs coming here, as if we're some kind of aggressive terrorist. To say that a fair amount we brought to Windsor. I'm gonna wrap here because there's just no signal over there. Oh, okay. So then we'll be done. Town centre now. We're going back to our camp where we'll be clearing up, tidying up, leaving the home park even more pristine than we found it. It's been an absolute pleasure being able to live stream. Thank you so much as well for the amazing interpretations work that's been done around here. Yeah, we have to stop now because the signal in the camp is awful, so we're going to lose the live stream. So we are going to wrap. We are going to enjoy the last few hours that we have together here in Windsor, this incredible town that's hosted us so kindly, where residents and authorities were so worried about our presence here, but have been really pleasantly surprised, and I think have really enjoyed having us here. And we have absolutely enjoyed being in Windsor. It's been amazing. It's been such a stunning and important symbolic backdrop for our activities here over the last 3 days. I just want to thank the whole live stream team, all the British Sign Language interpreters, and of course you, dear watchers and viewers, for tuning in with us and being there with us. And do come and join us. We'll let you know about our next activities, of course, which will be ensure our survival back in London in the next month or so. But keep an eye on our website, on our socials, so that you can keep up to date on that. And so from me, Marine, live from Windsor, thank you very much for tuning in, and goodbye.